That's rock and roll right there. Calling in from tour currently with Theory of a Dead Man. Yeah, there we go. The tour bus. We're really getting the backstage experience here.
That's it, man. It's the quietest spot I can get for this interview, so it's making it work.
Making it work. Now, what's the day-to-day life like on tour with Theory of a Dead Man right now? Obviously, it's been quite a run. I would imagine there's, a lot of different elements and moving pieces right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think everything's pretty dialed in. We're 11 shows in now, I believe. So it's a great. They're a great group of guys, a great band, and very welcoming. And it's been, I've had Tyler feature on my song "Blame It on the Devil," and of course, I've just recently featured on their new track, or new old track, as they like to say, "Living My Life Like a Country Song." And it's been a blast getting to perform that every night across the U.S. On this Unplugged tour.
Now, talk to me about the beginning of your relationship with those guys. Was it when you guys started working on these songs that you sort of, became friends, or did you guys know each other long before collaborating?
I mean, I was always, growing up in Canada, of course, I was always a Theory of a Dead Man fan. And, I guess music, you could say, brought us all together. And, I've known Tyler now for 4 or 5 years. And it's just been a great friendship ever since.
Now, "Living My Life Like a Country Song." Talk to me a little bit about that track because it's super catchy and I find it interesting, when we look at the mentality of country artists. Do you feel like country music is more so of a lifestyle or is it more so a musical genre and why?
I think, it depends who you're asking. I think country music now is more of it's a bit of um, you know, a, a fade, or whatever you want to call it. It's very I always say it's very much in the box. Everyone looks, sounds the same. And I've always trying to do something different. So collaborating with rock artists and just, I guess, really sticking to my guns and into my influences to create what I think is a unique and different sound in a very, very good and much needed way, to kind of change things up a little bit in country music, especially. But I think, yeah, overall it's definitely a popular genre, in the U.S., of course, and really spreading on a global scale, which I think is very cool. And I think that's where having, I guess, guys like me and partnering up with rock artists like Hailstorm and Motley Crüe, or Mick Mars, Ivan Moody of Five Finger Death Punch, of course, and guys like Theory of a Dead Man, and can't forget Sully Erna of Godsmack. I think just to have those legends featuring on my songs and loving them as much as I do, and then seeing how the fans are connecting as well, I think is just it kind of speaks for itself. So it's been a lot of fun, and I know it's hard to it's hard, especially when it comes to industry standards, to be accepted, but we're just kicking down doors one at a time.
So talk to me about how you overcome a lot of those things. Do you find yourself in situations where you have a product and, you're very sure about it and you want to proceed in that direction, but maybe you have to persuade labels or management? I mean, is that a situation you find yourself in?
Yeah, pretty much since the get go, since I've started this career, and going all the way back to 2012, 2013. But I guess it's kind of what lights the fire, or adds fuel to the fire, if you will. But and it's definitely helped me write certain songs. One of them being "Outlaws and Outsiders." That's really what that song is just about: being different, being outside the box, but most importantly, being yourself. There's a lot of artists that get lost in the fame and the glam, and try to fit in instead of, I guess, paving their own way or making their own road. Um, and I think that's very important for artists in general to really, I mean, that's why we're called artists. Try to create art, try to create something different, a little, maybe something that stands out, and ultimately trying to create something great. And I'm hoping, that's what the world hears and thinks when it comes to my music, and especially this new album coming out here December 6th.
I think it's not even debatable at this point that country is becoming bigger than it's ever been. And I think we're all watching it unfold before our very eyes. What are some of the reasons, Corey, you think country is having such a, creative renaissance right now? I mean, I'm sure there's many different reasons, but from what you've observed.
I think it's it's more of a like a pop culture at this point, and you're seeing them. I think that the biggest thing is I feel like country music's really lost their identity in the sense of, um, I just feel like they're a little lost right now. They're trying to be, the cool kids, and just getting mixed up into that, and it's easy to get lost in that, I guess, but it's growing in one way or another, but you're also seeing some artists, try to amp things up on the rock side when it comes to country, and I think it's just kind of, country was huge in the late '80s and '90s too, right? So it's just, I guess, history repeats itself in one way or another, and I think that's kind of what's happening right now. And for the last 6 7 years, it's been very pop oriented, and I've been not necessarily trying to change that, but give country music a bit of a different flavor. And again, just sticking to my guns and doing my own thing. But it's just everywhere, and I hope that this sound just catches on.
Is it dangerous sort of for a genre when a genre becomes too intertwined with pop?
I mean, it's working for a lot of artists. I mean, you look at someone like Morgan Wallen, and even a guy like Jelly Roll. Um, where in some cases, these guys are like rappers or something, and throw a little country twang on it, and you have what they're calling country music these days. But I think in one way, though, it's good to expand, which is allowing, artists like myself, hopefully, to kind of open that door too. Because I mean, if you can do pop country or rap country, then why not do country rock or amped up country, or as some call it, like I call it, country music with rock and roll attitude. So it's just a matter of seeing what happens, and hopefully there's a movement in that direction too.
I think that's the best way to put it too when describing your music. Country music with a rock and roll attitude. It's obviously something that you're very passionate about. Would you
Yeah.
say that you were equally passionate about country and rock from the beginning when you listened to music, or did you start with one or the other?
I would say, yeah. I mean, I grew up listening to, classic rock like Rush and Deep Purple, Grand Funk Railroad, Ozzy Osbourne, Bryan Adams. Then that progressed into, from Rush, there was only one way to go, and that was Dream Theater. I mean, as a drummer myself, that was the stuff that I was really listening to, and those are you know, my favorite artists were drummers like Neil Peart of Rush, and Ian Pace, Deep Purple, and of course, Donnie Brewer of Grand Funk Railroad. But as I progressed in drumming and started getting into bands and formed a metal band, that by 14, 15 years old, that's when I got into Pantera, then Lamb of God, and all the so many other, Metallica, of course. But on the other side, of that, my mom and my dad also listen to country. So growing up where I come from, a smaller town, and my mom was even from a smaller little farm town where it really was country. I mean, she worked on a farm and shoveled crap when she was a little girl, and my grandfather, raised cows and all that kind of stuff, and small little town. But I grew up on a lot of great country music and legends, and I've always kind of had an old soul. So like when everyone was, when I was going to high school dances and people were all hopped up on Usher, I was going like, you ever hear this Rush song? So it's like, just really totally opposite. But like I said, I mentioned all those great rock and hard rock and metal acts, but on the other side, I grew up on so much, especially around Christmas time, which is coming up just around the corner. All my favorite Christmas albums, is like, of course, there's Elvis, but Alan Jackson, Merle Haggard, Buck Owens, and in the country music world, even going as far back as Jimmy Rogers, which is where it all started in like the late 1920s, early 1930s. And then progressing in high school, where Brad Paisley was as hot as you can be, and guys like Vince Gill and again Alan Jackson. I grew up on all that stuff, Shania Twain. So it's really, I've just been lucky to be surrounded by a lot of great music, a lot of great artists, and ultimately, that's really how I guess I've crafted my sound, and try to create something that's a little different, but it can be, some of it's leaning more country, some of it's leaning more rock, and some of it's just really, it's the best of both worlds. And that's I guess that's the Cory Marks sound, if you will.
Exactly. Is that challenging for you to sort of have that duality, or does it actually make it easier because you're tapping into, stuff that you're already passionate about?
Well, for me, I think it's easier. I mean, it's harder again when it comes to industry standards, but because they're kind of going like, well, where do we put, like, what box do we put them in? But
Mm.
I don't necessarily want to be put in the box. I just want to make great music, and that's the ultimate goal. Is whether you're country, rock, metal, jazz, who cares, right? Hopefully, like, hey man, that's a great song, or man, I really connected with that song. So I think it's easier for me because, you know, I could do something in my set, middle of the set. I always break it down acoustically, and I'll do something like a little more on the Merle Haggard side, to kind of pay homage or tribute to those, the late great country artists that are no longer here, and the ones that really built that foundation. Of course, like guys like Waylon and Travis Tritt, and I mean the list goes on. But then we can bring things back up and really get things going where I could scream at some people and try to get some butts out of the seats or something like that. So we're just having a blast and having a lot of fun doing it.
Now, you spoke on being a Canadian country artist and obviously, having ventured out into the States all across the country. What would you say are the biggest differences between the country music culture in Canada versus the USA? Or are they more similar than they are different?
I think that Canada kind of, in a way, like there's a lot of great artists and there's a lot of music, a lot of great country music, but there's also stuff that we touched on where it's very pop oriented and kind of sounds the same. And I think that Canada's notorious for kind of piggybacking off the US, and they do what US is doing as opposed to being like, you know what, this guy's kicking butt right now. We're gonna make him our guy and claim him as our own. It's kind of like it's always been that way with other artists where it feels like you gotta get out of Canada and grow or get bigger somewhere else before they go, oh, that's our guy or that's our girl. And it's unfortunate because it seems too that in Canada, it's like if you make it in Canada, then typically you kind of stay in Canada. It's
Yeah.
it's it's almost like a no. So it goes both ways. It's almost like if you're a star in Canada, well, you can't really be a star in the US. But
Mm.
if you're not, it's like you got to get your butt out there and try to, make a name for yourself in other countries for them to be like, oh, wait a minute. This person, this artist, this band, this girl, this guy, they're doing something and making waves. So that's I'm just again just doing my thing and trying to be great at it and trying to connect with fans wherever they are, whether it's Canada, Germany, UK, US, Brazil, Australia. It's been nuts. And hopefully, my hope looking up to someone like Brian Adams is to have songs and a career in a sense where, like I've always said, when you go to his show, you can either, fall in love, want to party, want to cry your eyes out, or just sit there and reminisce and be nostalgic and feel either way, no matter what, slow, fast, or half-ass, you always feel something with his music. But it also, it's not only North America; he's doing that all over the world, and I think that's a really cool thing. And to be able to say, he's Canadian and really, he's from Kingston, Ontario, where it really all started for me when I was attending the Royal Military College of Canada, and that's when I started picking up a guitar and kind of got noticed and decided, I'm going to take a shot at this thing. So that's really my hope, is just to have a career that's on a global scale that we can sell out, decent sized venues and have people connect with the music worldwide.
Now, you mentioned military college. Were you looking to actually join the military?
Yeah, I was enrolled. I was doing an upgrade program, but I was enrolled as a pilot. Was the hopes of being a fighter pilot. That's what I've always wanted to do since I was a kid. But long story short, things didn't pan out. They wanted me to do, even though I went above and beyond what they were expecting of me. There was just some things that didn't work out, where I guess they wanted me to upgrade another course or whatnot. So at that time, it was also to be part of the hockey team, join the hockey team. So I would be officially in on the second semester, but they wanted me to enroll the following year, which wasn't the original plan. So at that point, I thought, well, and it's not that's not what the plan was, and I'm not sure I'm feeling this anymore, because I'd have to wait another 6 months and a whole other year to kind of, and they were looking for, I think, official, like, the term is ROTE, or I'm messing that up. It's been a long 3 weeks, but
I hear
basically
you.
be a cadet, and start right at the school. So where I would be intentional, I'd be kind of doing like um, an apprentice in a sense for that half year before rolling in officially at the cadet as a cadet and going, being in the dorms and all that stuff. So I think they wanted to shoot for that instead. And it just, I wasn't going to sit around and practice and travel with the team and not play any hockey games. So um, I went home, and my brother's girlfriend at the time was like, "Well, why don't you just come play for at our bar every Wednesday or something? It's like give you a couple $100 and play every Wednesday and till you figure out what you want to do." And I was only 21 years old, so I did that. But then I guess caught the bug and then started playing, on a Thursday night somewhere else, and then Friday, Saturday. Next thing you know, I'm playing 4 times a week, and then I got a bass player. Then my dad was my first drummer, and then it just like was like, holy crap! Started playing small fairs and festivals, and oh man, maybe I could take a crack at this thing, and
Right.
if I can make a living playing music and making music and making it work, then that's not a bad thing. My dad always said, do what you love and love what you do. So here I am. Some days aren't as fun, but we look forward to the good ones, and there's a lot of those.
Now, was it nerve-wracking for you to take music up as a plan B? Because typically, music is the plan A, and then you need a plan B for that path. It sounds like this was sort of the opposite. Obviously, it worked out, but it must have been somewhat nerve-wracking in the beginning.
It was kind of like I always call it, when people are like, "Did you go to college or whatever?" Like the funny thing is, I failed music in 10th grade. That's the only thing I failed at school. So a little nerve wracking going like, "Well, I failed music at school." But I also crack a joke and say like, but I attended the School of Rock for 9 years,
Right.
and that was busting it out in the bars and crossing Canada in mom's minivan with 6 guys and a trailer and playing with bars with no monitors and, you know, getting whiskeyed up just to try to make it through. But it's been a whirlwind and so many great experiences and amazing, incredible times meeting so many people, making fans and there's some funny and sad and crazy moments, but that's all part of the journey.
Now, jumping over to Make My Country Rock, of course, featuring Sully Erna of Godsmack, Mick Mars of Mötley Crüe, and Travis Tritt. Just from speaking with you in the last 20 minutes, this obviously must have been a huge collab for you because these are people that, you've mentioned have had a big role in your musical development. How did this track, like start in terms of an idea and how did it, go from the beginning until what we hear now?
Well, I think, we were kind of, at this point, kind of exploded on the scene with Outlaws and Outsiders and a breakthrough record in multiple countries, and then COVID happened.
Mm.
So it kind of put everything in a standstill. Then everything was moving slow, and I thought, with some of the co-writers on it, Blair Daly and Zach Malloy, it was like I gotta write another Outlaws and Outsiders. And both those songs are really in a way to just describe me, I guess to a T. And this song exactly, like because I'm country and I'm rock, and that's what it talks about. And having Travis on the first track, Outlaws and Outsiders, um, he was just a phone call away. So sent him the song and we chatted about it. And he's like, "Well, it worked pretty good the first time, didn't it?" So I mean, that was pretty awesome. And then when I was in Nashville, I went over to Mick's house and sat with Mick Mars and, got to hang out with him. And then I actually heard his new album before anybody really did and
Wow.
sat there and listened to every track with him. And I said, well, he's like, you have anything to show me? Like anything you're working on? I said, well, I got this one song. I think it could be the next Outlaws and Outsiders. And he loved it. And I said, would you play guitar on it? And he's like, of course I would. He's like, yeah, this song kicks ass. So I had Travis and Mick, and then then there's a few names that went floating around, and I thought, just because Ivan was the guy on Outlaws, I thought, well, this might be a cool thing, because it'll be around the 5 year anniversary of Outlaws and Outsiders. Why don't we try to get the boys? It'd be kind of like the boys back, get the boys back
Right.
together. And Ivan and Five Finger. They were on tour in Germany, which with the time difference and touring could be super hectic, especially those guys because they're playing crazy crowds and we just couldn't make it happen. So we kind of altered a little bit, and there were some names that were thrown around. But when I heard Sully Erna of Godsmack, I thought, well, wait a minute. I grew up on Godsmack. He's a drummer, I'm a drummer. We're both singer-songwriters, but drummers who love Rush and do drum solos in our sets. So I think that would be the coolest match because it just makes sense even on a personality scale. And, and I heard he likes to throw a few back before he shows too, so
There you go.
that
That
just makes
always
sense.
helps.
You know? So that just fit perfectly, and then, I wasn't even aware that officially that we had him on the track, and I get this text and, the number wasn't in my phone, but it was like, "Maybe Sully Erna." Like, "What the hell?" And I click on it. It was this long, beautiful text from Sully just saying, "Thanks for having me on the track, man. It kicks ass. This one's gonna be a big one for you, very special, and I'm rooting for you, and just, thanks for having me on it. Anything you need, let me know." I was like, "Holy crap, I guess, all right, so he's on the track." So that's kinda how the whole trio came together, and, yeah, man, it's a blessing not only to have them on the track, and actually one of the things Sully said, he's like, "I might even love this song more than you do." So I thought
Wow.
that was pretty badass coming from someone like Sully, such a hard rock legend. But I'm grateful for all their, of course, their support and help and love for what I'm doing. But it's nice to be able to call them friends now.
It's pretty crazy for me picturing sitting, across from Mick Mars and just talking shop about music and whatever the case may be. The one thing I've heard about Mick is that he's 100% authentic to what you would expect. Like you see a Mick Mars interview, that's basically what you see is what you get.
That
Could you speak to that, his authenticity as an artist and as a human as well?
well, he's a bit, he's a genius in his own right, and he's very creative, and he's he's still a 20-some-year-old kid at heart that loves music and writing and creating music, and really, all I have to say is he's been nothing but sweet and a great friend to me. So, it's been a special and very cool relationship. And some days I got to pinch myself when you wake up and check your phone. It's like you got a text from Travis or Travis and Mick or Lizzie Hale or anybody, and it's like wow, like. But at the end of the day, we're all just human, and we're all out here rocking and rolling, playing music, doing what we love, and as I say, trying to live the dream. And we're most of all, we're all just people, and um, humans that have a love and great passion for music.
100%. Now, the new album is going to be dropping on December 6th. Sorry for nothing. What are you hoping people can take away from this record after listening to it in its entirety for the first time?
I mean, I hope they just like I said earlier, I hope they absolutely love it, whether they're country fans, rock fans, metal fans, even pop fans. There's a couple songs in there. I don't mean pop like like hip hop or anything, just the pop culture, if you will. I mean, there's
Yeah.
because you can't really there's songs that it's not really country, it's not really rock, it's just it's a song that, again, I think that a lot of people can relate to, especially a song called "Tough to Be Strong," which I wrote, about mental health and addiction, and going through that myself with quite a few friends, and some are no longer here. So it was really a tribute to them and anybody going through it. Um, I just again just hope they love it, and it's something, if anyone was really waiting for it, I hope it's exactly what they wanted and expected, and if not more than that. And hope it's a big global hit like the last one was, but maybe even bigger.
Are you currently playing songs from the record on this tour?
I am, yeah. I play the title track, "Sorry for Nothing," and that's a personal song, and a special one to me, and of course the title track. But um, when I play that every night, it's very special because you can really see, literally just see, because it's the softest on what I'm doing. Even though it's me solo acoustic, I'm still playing "Outlaws and Outsiders," "Blame It on the Double," "Make My Country Rock," "Devil's Grin." I even do a Brian Adams tribute.
Nice.
Um, but this song here is kind of like the softer side. It's got, the softer chorus, softer verse, but that kind of rock ballad chorus. So it's like more like it's a kind of a country story, if you will, with more lean towards the countryside on the verses, but that kind of Bon Jovi, Brian Adams type, uh, ballad chorus. And the story, it's for anyone growing up in a small town like I did, and kind of having a dream and a vision, and like it says in the song, burning the candle at both ends. And being unapologetically yourself, and doing your thing. I really felt like, especially in the meet and greet after my show, after my set, I do a quick meet and greet before the next act comes on, and some people are in tears, but like, man, that song, like, when does that come out? Like, I really, really hit me. And when a person can be felt, they feel something and remember the title or certain lines of a song live that isn't even out yet, and it's the first time they heard it.
Yeah.
You got something special there, and so that song has been a bit of a highlight for me, because really, I think, after all, it's the only song that isn't out yet,
Mhm.
technically. So that people are really, some of them, you can just see them. It's almost like they're in a trance. They're just all looking up, like, oh my God. So, um, I hope the album, sounds and feels the same way for them.
I love that. The album is going to be dropping on December 6th. Everybody, make sure to hit the link down below in the description to check out Sorry for Nothing. And of course, give Cory Marks a follow on all of his socials. Get some tickets to his shows
Please.
and let him know that you saw him right here on the platform. And Cory, thank you so much for making some time, man. Congratulations on everything. You're killing it.
Dude, thank you. I really appreciate your time. Great interview. I love the questions. Really appreciate it, man. And we'll do it again in the new year if you'd like, and catch
Yeah,
up, and hopefully have you up to the show.
I would love to do that, man. Maybe we'll do it in person. That'd be awesome.
That'd be great, man. Let's do it. Maybe I'll bring the beers.
Let's do it. Awesome, man. Thanks so much. Have a good show tonight.